going to call the June 23rd. Oh, we ready? Okay. We're going to call the June 23rd, 2020 finance meeting to order. Is all the committee here? I saw Daryl and I saw Mr. Waters. Do we have to take a roll call? Well, let's take a roll call. Mr. Waters? Mr. Waters?
Here.
Okay, and Daryl?
Here.
Thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda is accepting the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor, roll call of accepting the agenda. Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Daryl?
Aye.
And I am an aye. That passed unanimously. The second item on the agenda is is the mayor here?
Chairman Cunningham, I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And I jotted in Mr. Lamar, but I don't know if Dave is on this call or not.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, hi, Dave, and Robert. I can't see everybody because we have the agenda up, but let's do the first item on the agenda is reviewing the May 26, 2020 Finance Committee meetings. Do I hear a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
I could second. All in favor of accepting the May 22nd, 2020 Finance Committee meeting minutes, say aye. When I call your name, Mr. Waters,
Aye.
Daryl,
Aye.
and I am aye. Okay, thank you. The first ordinance on the agenda is ordinance 2020-20, ordinance to adopt a city budget and to appropriate funds for fiscal year 2020 to 2021. Do I hear a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, open for discussion. I have several, not necessarily to be voted on at finance, but proposing several amendments that I'm going to be proposing to the board. And Robert, I don't know, would you be able to share your screen on those amendments, which would essentially increase our fund balance substantially?
I sure can. If you will give me just one moment.
Okay, all right, I'll go over it line by line then.
Okay.
Maybe you can, all right. On the revenue side, we're going to increase the revenues by the fire safety grant of 25,000 and our local sales tax of 500,000. Due to the fact that we're getting better than expected sales tax returns, and our finance director felt it necessary and a good prudent method, a good prudent thing to be able to increase our sales tax for our projected revenues for 2021. That total is 525,000 on the revenue side. Additionally, on the revenue projections, our fire safer grant of $90,000 and additional sales tax during the current year of another 500,000. So that would essentially increase our revenues by $1,258,700. Oh, thank you, Robert. I just saw it. I was reading from my screen. So on the revenue side, that would be an increase to our general fund budget of $1,258,700. On the, I'm sorry, forgot I said that. Because our revenues revenues will decrease as a result of removing the Saundersville Road revenue project by $1,258,700. Okay, so we have kind of a net effect there. On the expenditure side, on decrease of FY capital projects, a total of $3,829,500. which would include removing the Sarnesville Road expense for the project of $2,509,500 and removing the Walton Ferry New Shackle Island Road expense for that project of $1,320,000. There's no way that both of those projects will be completed in this FY21 year. So in order to be able to increase our general fund, we're going to be, I'm going to propose that we remove those two projects. In addition, the executive budget will be decreased by $65,600 because that position is now going into the planning department. So it would be a duplication of those expenses. And along with those expenses would be the ECD operational budget items that follow that position for an additional $25,000 in reduced expenses and a decrease of $20,000 in the IT budget because we're going to postpone installing the cameras in our meeting room. So with that said, and Robert, I don't know if you could show the revised fund balance on the budget side, but essentially the new unassigned fund balance would be $3,304,133, or a increase of $3,185,800. So
I can share that if you'd like. That is something I created that if only those went through.
right. That would essentially increase that fund balance instead of only 110,000 before, 118,000 before. Correct. Okay. So that's what I'm going to be proposing at our Board of Mayor and Aldermen tonight. And I don't know if anybody else has any other amendments or either to the revenue side or the expense side onto the budget that may also affect that fund balance.
I have some questions about what was just presented, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Daryl.
Obviously, I'm concerned about the Sarnesville Road project, but I think if I understand what expenses you're talking about, I may be okay with it. What expenses are we delaying by 1 year?
Robert,
I can speak.
what line item is that on the budget?
Marcia, would you like to speak to that?
Yeah, I can try to answer that. Obviously, with the Sarnesville Road project, we're continuing to move forward with it. We are in the process of getting comments and addressing those comments with the railroad, and we hope to be able to move forward with the right-of-way in the following months. And once we do that, there's a process we have to go through in acquiring that right-of-way. And again, all that said is there's some unknowns as to how long that'll take. The railroad, certainly dealing with them takes a long time, and we're not guaranteed that'll be done anytime soon, but we hope it is, and we can move forward. But all that said, it's unknown how quickly we can get through that process. And once we get through that process, on top of that, the number before you is merely an estimate as of what we think the right-of-way cost will be. And so I certainly don't think if we get to that point where we need money to purchase right-of-way for that project, then I'll come back before BOMA with an appropriation for whatever amount that is. I expect it will be hopefully a lot less than that, but we can do it a piece at a time, even if we have to, just to buy what we need for that given month. But whenever that happens, I'll just come back before you with an appropriation for that amount, and hope that we can get that appropriated to not delay the project. Does that make sense?
It does. My 8 years on the board has me fearful that the money is going to actually be there to appropriate it at a later time.
Yeah.
We have a tendency of spending every dollar we have as soon as we get it. I guarantee in August, if our sales revenue is up $50,000, there'll be a $50,000 project at the next meeting. So yeah, I trust you enough that if you're telling me we will not be needing any money for right-of-way acquisition this fiscal year, then I'll go along with that. I mean, I won't be here in a few months, so I kind of hate leaving by defunding one of the biggest projects in Ward 5. That I'll be honest, it scares me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to mix conversations, but is the bond, is this something we want to talk about now, Robert, or just kind of leave that out for a different?
Well, I'm prepared to speak and talk to it. Really, this is on budget ordinance right now, but I'm prepared to speak to
Well,
it.
the reason I say that is like some of these expenditures could be, could be later, put into a bond if needed, or, but and also my intent is also that the money, my thought process is this money will be in the general fund, as sort of a savings account. And if hopefully we won't increase spending, and it'll still be there if I come back before and ask for an appropriation.
There are several avenues that can be taken. Simple borrowing that we're used to. There's also we run into problems when we talk about borrowing due to how long some of these projects can take. So if catch wind that it's likely that we'll be able to purchase right away and something snags that up, but we've borrowed money for it. Now we're making payments. We've got interest. We need to worry about not running into arbitrage. But additionally, we can go into a line of credit where we are not making payments, and we use that if needed. But each of these would be something that the board would take action upon at that time when it is needed. Not, because explained earlier, and I'm really sorry if I'm overstepping here, but something I was explaining earlier is I'm not really able to put any of these into a reserve for lack of we're budgeted based on, take for example, the Saundersville Road, there is revenue that is coming in behind that. So there's a portion of that potentially, if appropriated, I could, but the other portion of that we will not get until we'll get it reimbursed. So our budgets are definitely counting on that revenue coming in on the back end, and that's how I put into a reserve that I count on something.
I have one last question, if it's still my
Go ahead,
floor.
Rob. Go ahead.
Considering how many threats we've received from TDOT, do we need to not necessarily get their permission, but at least let them know what we're thinking? Because I would be shocked if they would not be interested in knowing that we're defunding this project.
Well, I've mentioned this to Robert. The internal function of how we finance our projects is kind of up to the city. I think of course we're on the hook contractually. We're obligated to do the project. I think regardless of how we move our money around. But
right. So I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, but I think knowing that, I guess given the unknown of when exactly we're going to need the money, I think knowing that we still have access to it, we're just using it, back in the general fund, to kind of increase that balance. I think TDOT, their bottom line is I don't know that we're defunding the project, but we're just kind of moving money around to kind of better assist the city's finances.
Yeah. So whenever we had that, and I don't know if you were involved with this meeting or not, but we had a meeting at City Hall just about this project, and we were given a timeline. And of course, government timelines are about worth as much as the paper they're written on.
Right.
But we were supposed to begin construction in spring of 2019. Oh. And it says in bold letters, and it's upside down, which is why my head's cocked, This falls in line with the agreement Hendersonville has with TDOT to have all funding obligated by February 18th, 2021. So according to the timeline that they provided to the citizens 4 years ago, we have an agreement to have 100% of the funding obligated by February next year.
Yeah.
So I would ask that either both of you or one of you get with TDOT to see if that was a formal agreement or something that they just threw out there, and see what they say, because according to this that was provided at a public meeting, we've got 7 months to come up with every dollar.
Yeah.
And obviously we're going the opposite direction.
Yeah, and I certainly I need to look at that, but I think from TDOT's perspective, they want to make sure that we're making progress, and obviously when you have a multi-year project, the city historically we have never set aside construction dollars, that very first or second year even for just knowing that we don't need it then.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I see where you're coming from.
yeah, typically, and I think what we're doing now is kind of appropriate. We have the money, set aside that we think we need for right away, and we have access. We have access to it, and if we need to spend it, we can. And also, obviously, with the COVID-19, that's obviously that is I think a valid reason as well. But I think from TDOT's perspective, we certainly haven't slowed anything down. We're still on, we're trying to move as fast as we can. And it's certainly nothing that we're doing just to slow it down. It's the other agencies we have to deal with.
And
I
we always,
understand.
and Daryl, we always have the option of bonding if we have to, if we get into a situation,
Oh,
rather
I
than
know.
lose those funds.
So just, I won't beat a dead horse. All I'm saying is I'm leaving in 4 months, 5 months. And I feel like this decision is going to put this project in a worse position than when I received it. So that's all I'm saying. Like, I'm just scared of defunding and moving money around. When I was capital projects chairman, there was an agreement that the funding would be in place by February 2021. And it's not. So if Marshall, if you could find out if that's a firm deadline, a formal deadline, then I'll be fine. But
yeah, I can find that out. And one thing I wanted to add that we discussed in Public Works Committee before this one, we are continuing to pursue federal grants for this project in upwards of 12, $13 million that we're asking for to help fund this project. So right now we have 2 separate grants that have been submitted to assist with that. And we're hopeful that, we can get at least one of those, and that would certainly certainly help with our funding situation.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Any other discussion on that? We're not going to vote on it.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I think.
Yes.
You.
I don't know how to work this real good, Mr.
That's
Waters. I
okay. That's okay.
apologize.
That's okay. Do I have the floor?
Yes, absolutely.
Couple of questions, one to Robert and one to Marshall. Robert, is that expenditures Walton Fair, is that new Shackle or old Shackle? Yeah, all these.
I may have typed it. Yeah, I may have typed that wrong in haste. It may be Old Shackle, I believe.
Yeah,
It is.
it's been old Shackle for 20 years, and I see that new, so it kind of caught my eye. So
Sorry, it's new to me. I guess. No, I apologize.
I forgive you, Marshall.
Yes, sir.
Any idea how much longer we got to wait? Like I said, it's been about 20 years now.
Well, I've been in contact with the right-of-way agents for that project, and as well as the management, and it appears that they're in the process of they're still acquiring the right-of-way and easements for that project, and they anticipate that continuing for the next several months. And what that translates to, and obviously, and they're also having some issues with the railroad of the coordination, but all that together, it does look like it's going to be delayed again from the what we thought would be a December, like a kind of a winter time frame of them letting the project. It looks like that's going to be pushed to even farther out. And right now, I don't have a yeah, I don't have a firm date that they've given me, but other than it will more than likely be delayed into next calendar year to begin.
You're talking about 21?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the one unique thing about that project is TDOT is managing the project, and at some point they'll come to us when they do get ready to start construction and ask for that payment, which I do think it'll be towards the end of certainly the end of the fiscal year, and we wouldn't need that money right away.
Do you know off the top of your head, Marshall, how much more property that they've got to secure? Are they still buying, or is that done?
No, they're still, that's what they're in the process of doing that now. And I'm not sure how many tracks that they've acquired, how many they have left, but I do know they have a lot of appraisers and right-of-way agents working on that currently.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Okay, you're welcome. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to the next item on the agenda. And that would be ordinance 2020-20, ordinance fixing the rate of taxation in the city of Hendersonville, Sumner County. Do I hear a motion?
Alderman.
Yes.
We do probably need to vote on.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. On the budget, on the main motion. I apologize. I got carried away.
And just to clarify, we're going to vote on the same budget as last meeting, and then
Yes.
you're going to offer those amendments at BOMA.
Correct. Okay, do I hear, okay, we have to a roll call for ordinance 2020-20, ordinance to adopt the city budget and to appropriate funds for fiscal year 2020, 2021. Mr. Waters?
Aye.
Daryl?
Aye.
And I'm aye. Okay, that was approved unanimously. Ordinance 2020-20, ordinance fixing the rate of taxation in the city of Hendersonville, Sumner County, Tennessee. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? The tax rate stays the same. Okay, roll call. Mr. Waters
Aye.
and Daryl.
Aye.
And I'm aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda is resolution 2020-32, a resolution to apply for a state of Tennessee tourism enhancement grant. Do I hear a
So moved.
motion?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, roll call. Mr. Waters,
Aye.
Daryl,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. So that it was recommended unanimously. Okay, the next item on the agenda is resolution 2020-35. Resolution accepting the donation of 2 Segway I2s from the Hendersonville Citizen Police Academy Association. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay, discussion? And that would be for $6,124. Okay. Roll call, Mr. Waters,
Aye.
Daryl,
Aye.
and I am an aye. So that is recommended unanimously. Okay, now we have some of the reports that Robert has prepared, and I'm going to let Robert go through the reports with us.
Sure.
The sales, okay, the sales tax is not available, Robert.
It wasn't at the time of creation. It is now. We've not received the information until.
Oh, there it is. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so some of this information we've got over the weekend. I've altered this a little bit better for a budgetary format. In past years, we've shown the sales being 1 month, 2 months prior, but now we're showing it for activity 1 month prior. So the number you're seeing here, you may be used to May being for March, but this is actually April's numbers. As far as an accounting standpoint, this is how it's going to be shown, and this is the number that we're looking at for basically everything shifted up 1 month. this is how we look at it for trying to meet our budgetary what. So I hope that doesn't cause too much of confusion. But this 50,000, we're down 50,000 over last year for April's activity. That is, for all intents and purposes, that's excellent news. As far as budgeted figures, that is equivalent to about $94,000 down over what we were anticipating. By anticipating, I mean when we created the budget last year. I would say that $50,000 down and being closed down for pretty much the entire month of April is fairly. Not only is it an indicator for what next year could bring if for any months being affected or impacted by COVID-19, but also it can kind of give you it can give you just an idea of how many months you could withstand for the time being. That's in an optimistic fashion, as Alderman Cunningham addressed earlier a little bit, after being able to sit down and play with the numbers a little bit, felt comfortable raising local sales tax in this budget. One of the things I mentioned to her earlier was that based on the information given to me at the time of this creation, it would have been irresponsible to have given a number greater than 11.5 million, but based upon this and knowing consumer confidence hasn't slipped quite yet, but knowing unemployment is still being affected, that I'm raising it at least 500,000, and for that purpose.
So Robert, just to clarify, our beginning fund balance will be increased by about 500,000 for our budget.
Good. I appreciate you asking. So right now, 553,000 is basically the calculation that I have, but I would say 500,000 is definitely, with some variance, a very realistic number of exceeding our budgeted revenues for local sales tax.
Excellent, excellent. And then our revenue, our revised revenues will be increased on our budget year.
That's correct. The
For
beginning,
about $1 million extra.
that's right. The beginning fund balance will start off up whatever amount we exceed that portion for, unless we project it.
Excellent.
So if anybody has any other questions on sales tax, I'm happy to go over that, but that's projecting a 4.19% exceeding what we projected originally in the budget last year.
Committee? Questions for Robert on that? Okay.
So
I don't know if anybody has their hands raised. I can't read this thing real good, so.
I have it up. I can shout at you if you.
Thank you.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll move on with no objections from anybody or questions for that matter. So that was the good news, but then we kind of go into some of those that are impacted a little more readily, which hotel motel is certainly one of them that we see taking one of the hardest hits. So collected in May, or excuse me, collected in June for May's activity would be $8,815 compared to last year, which is our only real comparison that we have right now, is a reduction of $25,644. So obviously they're taking quite a hit. We're seeing that in other areas too. The mixed drink liquor tax, that is one that's taking a heavy hit as well. But yeah, so hotel motel is, I do think that we will still reach our 255 that we have projected in our budget. But that's.
And this was for May receipts or June receipts?
This is for May's receipts. We collected this.
Okay. That's what I thought you said.
Okay. So if nobody has any questions, I'll move on to cash flow. So closing out May here, as you can see, expenses, but this is typical, but expenses do tend cash flow out. It does tend to exceed cash flow in May, June, July, all the way, as you can see, typically through October a little bit. And we typically have this is our, this green line would be basically the bank account. That's how much money we have in the bank for general fund. And so exceeding that by about 1.5 million or input. We're projected to end, assuming that this projection is based off of our budget last year, but projected to end somewhere in the $7.4 million range. But again, that is that is assuming that we collected every dollar we projected and spent every dollar as well, based on previous years. So I know that COVID-19 has slowed some purchases and sped up others, so it's a little bit unpredictable. If no questions,
We're still holding up on major projects for now to protect our cash.
Right. Year end has assisted with that as well. There has to be a cutoff for finance at some point to be able to prepare for year end and get everything closed out in a timely manner. So that's certainly nothing major in the last few days. We have 7 days year end, so certainly don't want anything major.
Okay. How much, and this you may not even know the answer to this. Do you know approximately how much we're going to carry forward with paving?
To be reverted back to the general fund, you mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It looks like a little over 700,000, about 800,000, I think.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I was looking at it earlier today, and 800,000 is a fair estimate because we've not seen anything come in recently, and it has not changed in the past few weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
So with no other questions, I'll move on to stormwater. This typically just is, as you're all used to in the budget, is our high level revenue and expenditures. But on the next, you can kind of see the breakdown. So far, we've collected almost 2.5 million, which was what we budgeted this year. So it's highly likely that by the end of June, we will have met our stormwater budget, if not exceeded in revenues and expenditures. We've got 2.2, a little over 2.2 million in expenditures. Most of that obviously is drainage and professional, as well as some salaries as well. So that's other than the final item on the agenda, I'm happy to go over at any point. It is finances budget. We didn't get to quite go over that yet. I've made several changes from the first to the last, and I'm happy to pull that up. And
Yeah, why don't you pull that up?
absolutely.
What about the budget overage reports? Are they not being supplied to the department heads yet?
We're in right now. The reports are still being provided to the departments, but with COVID-19 and everything, our budget overage has kind of snuck up on us. From the standpoint of we've had to purchase some IT equipment in order to be able to work from home. And my understanding from the meeting in March was to give Dave the authority to do as was needed within rules and regs. And no one has exceeded their departmental budget quite yet, though line items are at risk right now. So
Okay.
we're watching that, and we'll have something on the June report to summarize everyone.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Absolutely. So if you'll give me one moment, I will have
Yes.
the finance department up real very fast. And
Committee, do you have any questions for Robert?
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay.
happy to discuss the difference in the two as well. I'm not sure if my screen is sharing, if you can see the finance quite yet, but yeah. So this was the original department request, or as it went to the first budget workshop. So for my reductions here over time, I'm gonna come to the most recent and discuss what I've cut out since. So the majority of our cuts have been, we've made reduction just due to the likelihood that an employee needing to retire and the amount of leave that will be on their books. We've reduced that. I felt comfortable that we retired early enough in the year, the break between filling that position could cover. And then if it occurred later on, we would be just fine with 7,500. So we've reduced that down from $15,000, which is certainly hope to not use it. We really enjoy the employee, just on camera. So, but just in case, totally understand and wouldn't want to do anything there. We do have reductions this fiscal year for payroll and employee. We will still handle the payroll portion, but the timekeeping portion and 30 of that has moved over to the HR department, and that is quite a lot of work, and they've graciously accepted that and taken that on from us. So that's where the majority of our decreases in this department comes from. If anybody has any questions on salaries and expenditures, happy to answer them. But we've also reduced our part-time pretty significantly. Mainly the use there is in our court on Tuesdays when our court ladies have to leave the building, we backfill that window with someone to help out. So no one has any questions. I will move on to the next slide. I spoke with our auditors today and was renegotiating and talking about next year and felt comfortable that this down, especially in the being more electronic and the lack of work that is going to be needed in trying to get a new contract and go to RFP and everything, that there will not be as much hands-on work needed when there's less paper, essentially. So costs and overhead for the company is going to go down. That on-site time, travel, paying for that kind of that goes down. So I felt comfortable certainly reducing that from last year or from the first budget workshop numbers and requests. Also made some other cuts. Unfortunately, made some other cuts to, of course, the asset line. And I felt like we could get by here with, we've got a couple of new employees and certainly some aging computers that we would like to replace. But felt like we could get by with just this amount. Additionally, we're trying to get online and the electronics, so trying to buy some scanners too, but certainly could put that off as long as possible. The unfortunate part, and I was looking at today, the reappraisal expense has doubled since last year. This is something that per TCA, without an agreement in place, we with the cities and the counties are supposed to split 50% with the county for the reappraisal. We don't. This is the budgeted estimate given to me by the county. Operationally, we have 4 invoices that make up 86% of our operations. So That is one for reappraisal, one for our accounting system right now that we're getting rid of for next year. And audit is a majority as well. So pretty much our entire department is 94% payroll and 6% operations if you were to take out those major invoices. Happy to discuss any line item and certainly open to any suggestions.
The reappraisal, I mean, what is 200, what are we paying $211,000 for?
So my understanding is that is a portion of the county's work that they do on our behalf for the property tax, and keeping track of that. The delinquencies portion that they do for us, they have payroll, they have overhead, they have quite a lot of a large operation going over there, but that is.
Was it because we're in a reappraisal year? Like every 4 years that jumps up like that?
No, it shouldn't jump like that in looking back at it, it does go up with property values and the amount of work and rates that go. But my understanding is the jump there is there's some restructuring and I would be happy to dig into it a little more now that I have some time to do that. But my understanding is there's some restructuring on the county side of things, and that is their estimation of how much that would cost. And in reading the TCA, I didn't feel like we had a lot of legroom without an agreement in place to say otherwise of how much a maximum to pay or a percentage based.
Okay, so we're kind of stuck with it.
Hopefully it wouldn't come in, the county's costs will not come in at that rate, but I can tell you for this year, the budget at 96 is what we received, and we ended up spending 104,000 is what we ended up. So we had to make cuts in other line items from finance to cover that, and so we've done that at least. But this year, the jump, I'm not entirely certain. I don't have a breakdown currently of what they spend that on.
Committee?
I'm like you, Madam Chairman. That's the one item that really sticks out. But I think Robert explained it pretty well. I don't agree, but
Sure.
facts are facts. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Waters. Anybody else? Daryl?
I'll be happy to. I'm sorry, don't want to cut Daryl off.
I was just wondering if there's any room for negotiation too. I'm sorry, Daryl. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I'm just listening.
Okay.
I'd be happy to share the information with the Finance Committee that we receive on our behalf and the explanation of the rate change.
Perfect. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else? Well, that's the end of our meeting, unless somebody else has something else. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Okay, motion, Madam Chairman.
Hey, Mr. Waters. Okay. Roll call, Mr. Waters
Aye.
on the motion to adjourn. Okay. And
Yes.
Daryl. Okay. Thank you.
Aye.
And I. Okay. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, committee. Thank you, everyone.
Good job. Thank you.
Bye.